Okay. Well, hey everybody, Matt here, head of marketing for Atlanta Under 40 Network Under 40, excuse me. I'm joined by the lovely Dara Brustein, who's the founder of Atlanta Under 40 Network Under 40 as well. And we are getting started with the Be a Connector Challenge. We're just waiting. Looks like some people are still trickling in, so we'll get started here. And just wanted to share what the Be a Connector Challenge is and talk a little bit about networking tips and what are some ways people can network, especially like people who are very introverted maybe or shy too, things like that. So we'll get started. Dara, share with us, what is the Be a Connector Challenge?
Well, hey audience, I'm Dara, like Matt said, and I'm the founder of Atlanta Under 40 and Network Under 40, which is our parent company, which is expanding into other markets. As we have grown such a fun audience here in Atlanta, we wanted to share that with other people. And in all of the networking that we've generated and created here in Atlanta, and the hundreds of you that meet every month, and the thousands, many thousands of you that have met over the course of our 4 years plus in existence, we were thinking, how do we really encourage and motivate all of you guys to continue the connections that you generate at Atlanta Under 40 outside of our monthly events? Certainly, we love that you allow us to be the place where you meet each other and you develop new friendships and business connections and things that are a hybrid of those. But we believe strongly and have lived through this organization and the rest of our professional and social careers that it's really important to connect with people outside of that organization, that relationship building starts somewhere, and we love that you're letting it start at Atlanta Under 40. But from there, there's really more that needs to happen, that you need to meet with someone outside of there and really interact and engage and decide, do we have chemistry as people? Do we have similar values or interests? Can we help one another for moving forward with our career goals and personal pursuits? And so we want to help you do that. So we are launching hashtag Be a Connector Challenge.
Yep.
And what that means is that we are recommending and hoping you all will join us in using the hashtag Be a Connector. Is it Be a Connector Challenge or Be a Connector?
Be a Connector.
Be a Connector. This is why we have Matt, head of marketing. And let us know how you've connected with people you've met at Atlanta Under 40 outside of the event. So it could be anything from we went and grabbed coffee or dinner or drink, or I invited them to a dinner party, or I had them at my office for a tour, or even better than that is we did those things and then here's what came of that we made an introduction that was beneficial for this person and this person. So it was a mutual introduction. It brought value to both parties, or this person became a client, or we're just friends and we hang out on the weekends now, or they introduced me to someone they know that's now become one of those things for me. That's what we want to know and we want to encourage you to do. So what we're asking is either follow us on Twitter at Atlanta Under 40 and or use the hashtag Be a Connector and let us know how that's happening. And if you're doing that and using that hashtag, we are going to sporadically be picking winners to reward you for being an awesome person and being a great connector, because I think I'm an embodiment of, I think Matt is an embodiment of the value that comes from being a connector in your life, both for other people and for yourself. But when you lead with wanting to help other people, I think that pays dividends for you and your kind of karmic social capital, and that comes back to you. And we really want to encourage that this is a place where we don't just have transactional relationships where you meet once a month. And we really want to send you out into the world and into Atlanta to be connecting with one another more deeply and intentionally. So with that, I think we wanted to spend a little bit of time letting you all ask questions of me and or Matt. And maybe not Matt, I think Matt's going to ask me questions about networking and building relationships and how to engage in the challenge and how to really get the most out of being a connector in your life. And this is your chance to do that. Some of you know me from the events and some of you don't, but networking and connecting people is what I think I was put on the earth to do.
Which she does really well. I have to interrupt and say
thank you. I just truly believe that if you care about helping other people, and you can do that by taking the resources you have of the people in your network and making that connection to someone else, that is so valuable, and that I love to do it without any regard for what comes to me in return, because I just get fun and pleasure and gratitude from doing it in and of itself. And so I want to sort of push that forward, but allow you guys to ask questions. So I'm going to turn to Matt and let him sort of interview me for a little, if and until we get any questions from you guys, the viewing audience, and then we will answer whatever you have for us. So Matt, what do we want to start with? Oh, and use the hashtag Be a Connector to ask those questions. So go onto Twitter, use that hashtag, and or just go to @AtlantaUnder40 on Twitter. That's how we're going to field your questions. So Matt's got Twitter going. He's going to ask your questions and his questions, and we're off.
Very good. So yeah, just you can find us at Atlanta Under 40, like Derek said, and then the Be a Connector is the hashtag we're going to use. So go ahead and hit us up. I'll keep an eye on Twitter, but I think one of the really critical things, especially that I find a lot of people don't do, is following up. And I'll tell people, well, do you have a follow-up procedure? And people kind of look at me and go, what do you mean, Matt? I'm like, well, what do you do after the event to follow up with people? Can you talk about that for a minute, and what do you think are some good ways to follow up after an event?
So Matt raises such a good point. I always find it fascinating when people attend one of our events or any event or meet someone on an airplane or wherever they are. They grab their business card or they exchange business cards and they never do anything about it. To me, that's a waste. You're certainly not going to develop any sort of rapport or real relationship with someone if you don't build on that. So I have a personal sort of intention that I will follow up with everyone I meet within 24 business hours or less. I think one of the positive benefits of doing that is you get it off your plate and you've made sure you've done it, but you also do it when you're still relevant to someone and they'll remember. But more so, I think it just begins to build credibility around the fact that whether or not I said I'd follow up with you, I think it's sort of unspoken that if I receive or ask for your business card, that there's an expectation that there's a follow-up. So if I don't follow up, and especially if I take a lot of time to do that, in my opinion, that begins to diminish the credibility that you have with that other person. So I'm always really impressed when someone follows up quickly, and when they follow up, if they remind me how we met, maybe they reference something that we talked about, that makes me really know that they were engaged and they were listening. Mm-hmm. And then there's a number of things that I think you can do from there depending on how you want that relationship to progress. So let's say Matt and I met and I felt like I never want to see Matt again, which obviously is not the case. But if that were the case, then I would still follow up with Matt and just say, Matt, I really enjoyed meeting you. And I wouldn't be insincere about it. If the reason I wouldn't want to meet him again is I just felt like there wasn't really a reason. Like we didn't see any synergies. We didn't connect as people, but he was a nice person. Then I still want to follow up and just say, Matt, it was really nice to meet you. Hope our paths cross again. And I think that's completely adequate. And I'd probably send him a LinkedIn invitation. And I bet our paths would cross again. So at least I was genuine and kind to him. And that's the first step. If Matt and I spoke and we felt like, you know what, Matt, you own a company that does online marketing and web development, and I own a merchant services company, which is both the case, we should talk because I bet there's stuff we can do together. Then it's my job to follow up and say, hey, Matt, how does your schedule look? Let's set up a call or set up coffee and do that. And then it's up to Matt to show me that he has a good follow-up regimen too, and he's going to respond to me in a timely manner. So I think those are some really basic things. I also alluded to LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is really a great tool to use, that you send that invitation. And sometimes that's just the note if it's simple. It's not about a scheduling of something, and just say, really great to meet you. Would love to connect with you on LinkedIn, period. That's it.
So you create, because that's a question. I know typically when I receive like the generic ones that are just, hi, Bill, I want to add you to my professional network. I'm kind of like, really? You couldn't take just a second to put a little footnote, something in there? Do you find
that's whinier than I am? I don't care, but I do prefer if there's a note, if we really did connect, or if I don't know who you are or we met in passing, if you can remind me, that's really helpful too.
Okay.
What were you asking? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well, if making that note makes a big difference, that you find two people like yourself who are kind of, I would say, power networkers.
Thank you. I think anything helps. Anything you can do to personalize and show who you are. Like, I'm a big believer that when you're getting to know people, the best thing you can do is be authentically and 100% yourself. So the more things you can do to showcase who you are and your personality and whatever else that entails, the better. So if that includes writing a nice note, if that includes quick follow-up, if that includes wanting to see the person again, whatever that means. But I think it's showing your personality and not just trying to have this staid, rigid, thing that you just do every time where it's like copy, paste,
Yeah.
I think the more you can be real and authentic and genuine to you and what that interaction and that relationship is, the better.
Okay.
How about a new question?
Okay. I think this is a really good question because it kind of applies to me. I'm actually an introvert by nature. This is an act. But somebody asked, I'm shy, right? So how networking itself is outside of my comfort zone. How do I do that?
Yeah.
How do you network as somebody who's...
So I love this question too. I think that there is a difference. Actually, I know that there's a difference between being shy and being an introvert. Oftentimes people who are shy are also introverted, but technically introverts just mean you get your energy from being alone versus extroverts who get it from being with people. Shy is different. It means you're probably a little bit uncomfortable and maybe even insecure in environments with a lot of people. But that being said, I think that there are ways to network successfully as a shy person and or an introvert. I'll go with introvert for now, and we can add shy later. But I think one tip, if you are courageous enough as an introvert or a shy person and still want to go to a networking event because you see the value, is go to what I like to deem the introvert hour, which I think is in most cases the first hour of the event, in some cases the last, but usually the first hour. The reason I call it that is it's because when everyone's trickling into the event and they're stuck in traffic, there's just less people. So it gives you an opportunity to engage well and undistractedly with a couple people without feeling overwhelmed by the mass of the group.
Yeah.
Another tip that I have is if you're going to an event and you're shy or introverted is have a goal for yourself of how many people you'd like to meet while you're there, and then allow yourself to say, I've accomplished that goal of meeting, let's say 3 people, because I'm a believer you don't want to meet everyone.
Yeah.
You want to meet a few people and see serendipitously how do those things pan out. It is not your mission to try and meet everyone or as many people in the room as you can. So if your goal is I want to meet 3 to 5 people, you've met them, you've had a nice interaction, then say to yourself, am I still feeling energized? Do I want to keep going? Or have I accomplished my goal for the night and I'm ready to go? And then let yourself go. Another is find places to find a little bit of like respite in an event. So if that's go to the restroom once an hour and just spend a minute just kind of decompressing, do that. If it's go to the bar and have a minute waiting in line to grab a drink or go grab food, those are opportunities to sort of take a breather. And they're also opportunities to run into people and have a more organic start to a conversation than feeling...
You might be looking for a break too.
Right, exactly. Feeling like you have an opportunity to talk to someone more organically, saying like, oh, have you tried that? Or what are you drinking? Or whatever the conversation starter is. There's also sort of a science to the fact that if you walk up to a bar, there's the corners, and most people are going to walk out one of the corners because there's a line walking up to the middle. So if you want to position yourself off of one of the sides of the bar or the food table, it's a really good place to meet people when they're probably really desperately looking to make a connection because they're looking into a wide room of people thinking, wow, this is really overwhelming. How do I engage? All these people seem like they're fully involved in conversations. But on the backside of that comment, I want to say when you go to a networking event, everyone is there for the point that they want to meet people. And they didn't come there just to talk to people that they know. And in many cases, they don't know anyone. So I say that to encourage shy people and introverts that people are usually grateful for you approaching them because they feel like, phew, I don't have to do it now. Thank you so much for doing that. Mm-hmm. And also too, to know that you can interrupt a conversation, but just do it in a pleasant way and just sort of walk up in, let a break in the conversation happen or let them say, oh, hi, what's your name? Shake their hand and then allow yourself to get into the conversation. That's okay, that people expect that to happen. So the other side of it too is if you feel uncomfortable at a networking event, as much as this is counterintuitive to us hosting them, you don't have to go to a networking event. You can find smaller environments to make positive interactions with people that are going to be of value to you. So if that's having one-on-one coffees with someone introduces you to, or as long as you have ways to meet new people and interact with them in a way that's comfortable for you, do it. I love if you're brave and you stretch yourself out of your comfort zone and go to an event if that's not comfortable for you. But just know that's a place, unlike a party, for example, where people aren't necessarily there to meet each other, and it should feel a little bit more comfortable for you. But one other thing to say is not every networking environment is going to feel right for you. I've been to plenty networking organizations, and same with mine. Mine isn't Atlanta Under 40. I'm sorry, mine isn't necessarily for everyone. You might come and feel like it's too many people, or I don't jive with the vibe. That's fine. There's plenty of places you can go, but give yourself the leeway to spread a wide net initially, and try out a bunch of different places and ways to network with people you don't know, and then really focus on a few. And over time, as you get to know people and feel more comfortable, being shy and introverted won't feel like such a thing that holds you back, because you'll feel like these are places where I have at least a foundation of people that I'm comfortable with, and you can build from there.
Yeah. I think one of the questions that I know at least I've gotten asked a fair amount is, or it's really more of a statement, I don't know powerful people. What's my value to connect with other people? I don't know anybody. I just know a bunch of other people like me or something.
Right. So people say this to me all the time. I do a lot of talking and writing on networking, and I get a lot of comments from people, especially who are young, who say, I don't have this Rolodex full of people, and that might be a term some of you aren't even familiar with, or a CRM that is full of people that have sway and power and influence. How can I help other people, or what am I bringing to the table?
I don't know that.
I always say that everyone has a network. You are born into a network. You have a family, you have friends, you have colleagues, you have classmates, and that is where your network begins. It's once you start branching into the friends of friends and the contact that person knows and the person you met at this event or in the supermarket or wherever you meet people, that you begin to grow an extended network. And interestingly, studies actually show that it's oftentimes that you find the most power in your network when you go through, sorry, we have someone entering our chat here.
I think she just put a password.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, live studio audience. It is when you go into that second and third level of connection that are that like one level beyond just your immediate close family and friends, where you begin to see the most power in your network. That's where statistically people find the most jobs, where they get the most sales, where all of these powerful things happen. So none of that has to be because you know the CEO of Coca-Cola. It's just because you know someone who has, on average, people have a network of 250 people on average. So if you know 10 people, you know 2,500 people because you know their networks. So it's really your job to cultivate those relationships with those people so that they trust you, know you, like you enough that if and when you need to ask them for a connection to someone in their network that either you know they know or you don't know they know, but they know and that they can connect you to, that got heavy, that was pretty meta, that they can get you there. And so when I say that it's your job to cultivate those relationships, what I mean is that, I'll give it to you this way. I look at it as value, ask, value. And what I mean by that is, in a relationship, I think I need to give twice as much value as I will ever take from it. And this isn't a science, this isn't a rule, but this is my personal rule that I always want to be in the giving seat more than the taking seat. So if I go into a relationship immediately thinking, what can Matt do for me? How can Matt get me to this person that I know that Matt knows? Or how can he help me close this deal? Or how can he be a customer of mine? I think that's kind of dirty. I don't like that. I wouldn't want to be treated that way. So I don't treat my connections that way. So I lead with just trying to uncover, whether very obviously or more discreetly, finding out what is this person working on and how can I help them? Or what is this person's just kind of general vibe and how can I connect with them with someone I just think they're gonna like? And there's so much value in that. None of that has to do with power or influence of the people that I know, but there will come a day where as you continue to put that out into your network, you will continue to attract more people like that to you because you are a person of sincerity who is a giver. So one day you probably will have a network and a Rolodex full of people who do have influence that you may not know, but that doesn't matter. You don't need that to get to that point, nor do you ever necessarily have to get to that point because people in your network will be able to get you to those people eventually.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good, meeting people like yourself. I know anytime I'm looking for somebody new, usually if it's like a service, Dara's one of the first people I turn to. You realize that your network of folks and the quality of connections they have matter.
Absolutely.
You start valuing those people because you know they've kind of vetted them already to an extent. But they're not going to hang around people that just aren't worth it or, business card shufflers, right?
So to Matt's point, I think that the people you keep around you are a reflection of you and your reputation. So it is part of your job to cultivate a network that really is of the same values and integrity that you have for yourself. And while I don't believe in burning bridges and being rude and unkind to people, there's a difference between having close relationships with people that you don't think live and breathe the values that you would want in the relationships that you have and how you conduct business and how you conduct yourself in your personal life. And there's ways to know them casually, but not have them in your inner circle. So when Matt comes to me and says, I need XYZ referral to a provider, and I refer someone, that reflects on me how they perform and vice versa. So it's important to keep, sort of aware of who are you keeping in your circle.
Yeah. I think that brings up though a really good question about kind of the longevity of networking, and that it's not, some people seem to think that it's the short-term thing that I can do once a week, once a month, and I'm good, I've got it. But, networking is really more of a long-term thing, yes?
So I always like to tell people that I see networking as a fancy word for relationships. So when someone says to me, I don't need to network, or I'm done networking, I've got it all set, to me, they're basically saying I can live in a bubble by myself, which is crazy. Like, obviously in your life, you're always going to need people for something, whether it's emotional support or a new job referral, or you're hiring someone, you need an investor, you need a new client, you need a nanny, like whatever the thing is, you need people. This world doesn't exist without people helping people. Mm-hmm. So just think of networking as relationships. So anytime I want to have a relationship with someone in any form or fashion, I think of it as, do I like this person so much that I just want to be their friend? And then that really helps me build a great relationship with them, especially in business, because again, I know them, then I like them, and then I trust them. And that happens because I initially met them, which is the no, liked them because we vibed, and then I trusted them because we developed a relationship, and they showed me through their actions over time that I could do that. So when someone says, oh, it's short term, it's not long term, to me, that's crazy. Like, another analogy is farming. I always say that you need to plant the seeds by first getting to know someone. And then the cultivation is the watering, the giving sun. It's the keeping up with them. It's the wishing them a happy birthday. It's sending a relevant article. It's making the positive introductions that are going to benefit them and the other person. It's inviting them to an event that they might see value in. It's just checking in and saying, hey, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while. It's going to grab coffee again. It's all of those little things that show that you care and you're investing and you're thinking about them that are the cultivation of the relationship. Yeah. So again, to your question about long-term versus short-term networking, I think that networking is never transactional. And so short-term to me speaks to the transactional nature of what some people think and treat networking as. To me, that's a huge pet peeve and red flag when someone says, I am in this relationship because I have this very specific goal. That's not a relationship. You're using that as a transaction. So to me, that's not networking.
Yeah. And I mean, to speak to that point, I can't tell you how much business I've probably closed in my lifetime of sending an article or something, no strings attached, just saying, hey, I saw this applies to you, I think, or I wanted to share this with you. And it starts a conversation that I didn't intend.
Right.
But it leads to them asking for a service or needing consulting or whatever.
Yeah, it's just staying relevant. It's why I love LinkedIn and other social media platforms, that you post relevant things, people continue to see you. It allows you to stay connected with people and know what their new job position is, or their job anniversary, or their birthday. Yeah. And you just show that you care enough to say congratulations. It's so simple, but it's just finding ways to build in small habits to do that. Another quick tip I just thought of, actually a few that I think, since we only have about 6 minutes left, I want to throw a couple of these tangible tips out that'll help with follow-up and some of this longer-term cultivation. 2 are tools online that I think would be helpful outside of LinkedIn. One is called Rapportive, Rapportive. If you go to rapportive.com, it's a plugin that works with Google Chrome, the browser. So if you use Google Chrome, it's something that integrates into your Gmail. And anytime you have someone's email open, on the sidebar of your Gmail, it pops up all of their information based on taking all of their social media platforms. Okay. So it shows you their picture, their name, their email, what city they're based in, their job title, and any job titles they've listed on LinkedIn. And then it links automatically to let you connect with them on any social media platform. So you can instantly connect with them on LinkedIn from there and specialize the note if you want. Okay. I love that, because when I am connecting with a new person and I don't know what they look like, I don't know where they live, I don't know their history, it's all right there. It also is such an easy way to connect with them on LinkedIn. And it's an easy way too, when you're making an introduction for someone, to copy paste that little section, plop it in the email and say, here's a little bit of background for each of you on the person, care of LinkedIn, here you go. They're just these little small things that help. Another one is called Newsle, Newsle. This is a platform that takes all of your contacts from whichever platforms you'd like. So I use all my social media contacts and my email contacts, and it sends me a digest at different points in the day to say to me, these contacts were in the news, and then I can follow up with them and say, congratulations, I saw this article, this is great. You can share it with people. So that's a really nice way to do that too. Another tip I have is what I like to call reconnect files that I keep in my calendar. Anyone who sees my calendar kind of freaks out because it's like color coordinated and super crazy. And one of the colors are these reconnect files. And so I have them on monthly rotation on my calendar on repeat. And they're people that I meet with whom I want to stay connected. So certainly, you have the one-off interactions or you have the coffee meetings, and not everyone does it make sense to say, I want to stay in regular contact with you. But for people with whom I do, I leave them on these monthly files, and once a month their name pops up on my calendar, and it gives me an opportunity to stop and think, have I talked to this person lately? Should I reach out? Should I send them a note? Should I give them a quick phone call? Or do I need to talk to them this month? Nah, we probably don't need to right now, and wait till the next month. But it's a really easy, tangible way to keep people front of mind, which is often a complaint people have about how do you manage thousands of contacts or hundreds or whatever your level of contacts are. What's next, Matt?
I think kind of going back to one of your earlier points is, you were talking about how you want to be value added first, right? For those people, how can you speak to what is the return on investment, right? If it's just them, and it's all for the other person, what do you get back? I mean, I kind of know, but, to speak to those who maybe are getting into networking and they're really not used to that, what does that look like? It's
a really hard question because it's not extremely quantifiable. And also because in living that way and giving that way of wanting to be considerate of other people first and figuring out how you can help them with really genuinely with no strings attached, it requires a patience that not everyone has in certain stages of their career. So if you're out and you're doing strategic business connecting and networking, and your job requires you to be closing business, for example, or you're out and you need a job and you are not making money because you don't have a job currently. Sometimes it's strategic, but that's okay. But I think on the whole purpose is to just look at the world, not your purpose, but the way that I look at it, and maybe you'll see it this way, is the world is a puzzle. So when someone's talking to me and they're saying like, not even because they think I can help, just, my phone systems are down in the company and it's so stressful. And I say, why don't I connect you with this guy I know who does phone systems? That's a really easy way for me to help a contact of mine on the one end, and on the other end, help alleviate some pressure that this person is feeling with nothing in return, except I get gratitude and fun and whatever from the fact that these two people are going to both mutually benefit from this, and I got to be a part of that. And that's the selfish part. Said I got to be a part of that. Yay. But so I think where it's hard is, again, where you don't have the time necessarily in some cases to do that. But that's when you're still cultivating the relationships that you had that were pre-existing. It's the friends, it's the family. We've got some crazy like strobe light going on back here with our city view and the sun setting. So party up in the Buckhead Club. But so I think it's a tough one, but I think the more that you can go out into the world and think, how can I genuinely help other people make connections with the connections and the resources that I have, the better. Knowing that, yes, there will be times where you need to kind of cash in on those connections and ask for something, but that's okay because you've really invested in those people. So keep doing that.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think we're about ready to wrap up. Just wanted to reiterate what the Be a Connector Challenge is.
Yes.
And how we need to get people plugged into that.
Yeah, so for anyone who wasn't tuned in the beginning, when we introduced ourselves, again, this is Matt, who is our Director of Marketing, and I'm Dara, the founder of Atlanta Under 40. And we are here launching today the Be a Connector Challenge at Atlanta Under 40 on Twitter, #BeAConnector. And the whole purpose is we want you to use that hashtag to tell us how you're connecting with people outside of meeting at our events and what's come of that. And we're gonna pick winners sporadically and reward you for being a connector and building those relationships outside of those one-time interactions. So feel free to keep sending questions to us on Twitter or through our other social media platforms. We will find ways to get back in touch with you. But until then, we look forward to seeing you on Twitter with #BeAConnector, letting us know how you're connecting with one another. And thank you to all of you who tuned in today.
All right, appreciate it. See y'all next week.